Howdy, this is Dixie the Tarot Diva. I got a really awesome question from one of my tarot people recently, and so I thought I'd come on here and do a video and share it with you. She wanted to know, what do you do when you're reading for someone else and your answer hacks them off? They're angry, they don't like what it is that you give them. The example that she used was, for example, if they wanted to get back together with the ex and you didn't see that in the cards, which if you read for any amount of time, you are going to run across this situation where somebody very, very much is attached to a particular outcome, and that's not necessarily what you're getting. And it can be a difficult situation. When she asked me about it, it kind of reminded me of my old days back when I was a youth and I used to work customer service for AT&T. Now, whether or not you really dig on AT&T, they did have some really awesome customer service training. I was one of those folks who was at the end of the 1-800 line, you know, the call if you have problems on your bills line. So, angry folks, yeah, that was something that we had to learn how to deal with. And as far as what they taught us, there were 3 things that you wanted to do when somebody was upset. The first being apologize. You know, yeah, it wasn't our fault, but you can be sorry that they're struggling or upset anyway, right? The second is listen. And I'll get back to that in a minute in terms of, in this context, but to really completely and fully listen to what it is that their concern is. And the third being try to solve or help them solve their problem. Now, that does not equate with doing what the person wants you to do, okay? So, to look at this in the context of a tarot reading, if somebody wants a particular answer and that's not what I get, the first thing I'm going to do is say, I'm really sorry, but this is what I see. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. You don't alter what you see in terms of, what you're getting to make it more like what somebody wants. That's just begging for disaster. The second part, listening. What I'm really looking for here isn't so much listening to what they're upset about. I mean, that's generally pretty obvious, but listening to the need underneath that. In the example of the person who wants to get back with their ex, chances are what they're really looking for, above and beyond just their ex, is what they attribute the better part or the good times with their ex, what they attribute to that relationship. So perhaps it's a stable, warm, caring, fun relationship, which they see as only being possible with their ex at the time of the reading or whatever. And maybe that is all they want is, I want the ex, that's all I want, da-da-da-da-da. But chances are, if you dig a little deeper, you can identify something that they're looking for or another potential form or whatever. So that's one of the things when I'm doing the reading itself. A lot of times I'll be asking follow-up questions in my head as I'm flipping cards of the cards or in an email reading or whatever. I look to anticipate what the underlying needs are, or I might ask specifically about that. And that kind of slides into the third point, solutions. I also look for solutions. Now, if somebody wants to get back with their ex and the energetic snapshot of things, how they are at that time, is saying, I don't think so, which that's what a reading is. It's like a moment in time. Then you can follow up with free will kind of questions. What is the major stumbling block? What does this person need to learn, or how can they grow from this relationship to make them more successful in relationships in the future? What would need to change to make this a possibility? And you may or may not get something on that front, but at any rate, looking at some of the peripheral issues, a lot of times you can more closely address their problem, even if you can't hand it over to them in the form that they want. A lot of times you can address the issue or the underlying issues in a kind and helpful way, and probably do a lot more for them than if you could just say, oh yeah, you know, within 6 weeks you're going to get a phone call. I mean, I know that's what they want to hear when they call you, but people come to you, sometimes they need something different than what they think they do, you know? I'm not saying it's up to you to decide what they need or whatever. Now, regardless of how that works or doesn't work, one really important point to remember is you give them the best you've got, as kindly and with as much love as you've got, and then you've got to let go of it. You know, it's not your choice how they feel. If they want to be upset and say you're the world's suckiest tarot reader because blah, 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 let them. You know, don't emotionally attach to their reaction to your reading any more than you want them, or you hope that they will emotionally attach to a particular outcome, because that's just begging for pain. It's also really important to remember you're human. You know, in these kind of situations, one of the things that I sometimes say, and truthfully 100% mean, is I hope I'm wrong. I'm a human being. I don't believe that the information that comes down is necessarily ever wrong, but I sure the heck can misinterpret it. You know, I'm a human. I can make mistakes, and you are too. So that's important to remember. And kind of as a follow-up, one thing I will tell you from experience, sometimes these people who are very upset or very angry, when you give them the reading and either you get like back in return or you don't hear from them for a long time or whatever, a lot of times, not always, but a fair amount of the time, they come back later and thank you for telling them the truth. Because sometimes what you have to give is difficult to hear, you know? Sometimes it's painful and hard. You're doing a tough job. And by seeking information from somebody who's going to be straight up with them, and then getting that information and processing it, your client's also doing a tough job. So have compassion both for your client and for yourself. Don't take it personally. Give them what you've got as kindly as you can. You know, let them know you empathize with them, because they're not getting what feels like the only answer or the only satisfaction that they're looking for in the situation. Acknowledge the fact that you can be wrong, which in and of itself a lot of times will soften the blow. And once you've done everything you can and you've gotten what you can get to help make it easier, let it go. That's how I address it anyway. That's my advice. Let me know, what do you do when you're giving a reading and the person you're reading for is not pleased? Just let me know in the comments. Hope that's helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Come visit me at my website at foolsjourney.com and take care, okay? Peace out.